Hi everyone, Evan from the Trade Risk, Wednesday, January 28th with a market update video. You can see today was a pretty bearish day following FOMC minutes and some exuberance over Apple earnings. Even Yahoo had a positive reaction, I think, in the after hours. Although I know it closed poorly today. We came in gapping up above yesterday's close. Above 204, this line here, and you could almost think, well, we might run for the and retest the highs here at 206, but all that happened was, we opened up, those were the highs for the day, and we basically faded for the entire session. The internals pretty much just weakened up the entire day, and selling just really snowballed into the close. Minutes were out at 2 p.m. The Fed minutes. I don't think there was any surprises there, but you definitely saw selling sort of intensify after the release came out. So we closed on the lows. On the grand scheme of things, if you look at this picture, nothing really changed structurally. I think 199 is a very critical level, and we're just a stone's throw away from it now. It would not be surprising to be testing this level tomorrow, perhaps breaking down, perhaps gapping below it in the open morning session. Who knows? Given the way it closed, we closed today with a pretty big expansion bar to the downside. But we'll have to see how we react to this tomorrow. We'll have to see if the bulls can pick us back up. It's been just a ridiculously choppy environment. I think a lot of traders are probably tired and looking for some resolve out of this range. Now, all the markets pretty much are in the same boat. The Qs here below yesterday's low. IWM, you can see a pretty ugly candle for the small cap index. I tried playing this breakout, I think twice, above 118.50, and just real tight stop losses, looking for some continuation here, and I just never got it. I wasn't long it today, but you could see today finally it failed, and it really just kind of broke down from this upper level 117 and a half or so support that had been holding. You could see just it failed one too many times, and it's now back to the middle of the range. Now the only thing, you could say that the IWM is actually still holding up better. It is still pretty much in this top half of the range, whereas a lot of as the SPY and the Qs are really just about to test this lower end of their respective ranges. So small caps still sort of outperforming on a relative basis, but again, things are pretty ugly. One last note, if we look at a weekly chart, you can see we closed right at last week's lows. So right around the 200 mark. So this is an important level, and then you also have a lot of tails right around here, 199, and that is a very important level. So we'll see how we continue. Let's look at some other markets. TLTs have just been ripping to the upside all this year, really, and tailing off the end of 2014. TLTs have just been marching higher. So there's no change here. The trend is strong. You can definitely see the inflow of money into treasuries at this time. USO, I tried to actually get long this today, really as a day trade. It ended up closing horribly, but in the beginning of the day, you had a little bit of a flush out. Then it started to reclaim 17. I took a quick shot at it. I think ultimately lost 12 cents on the trade. Super tight stop, just intraday. Couldn't get going, but I was looking for some type of potential washout this morning. It didn't happen, so we're still in the same song and dance here. Strong downtrend. Need more time. I mean, you can see the candles starting to overlap a little bit here, starting to slow the selling down, but again, it doesn't seem like we've really had that either large washout or enough sideways through time to reverse this trend. So we'll still have to wait on USO. UNG, looking like it's heavy, on a strong downtrend, hanging pretty tight now between $14.20 and $15. We'll have to see. I think below this cluster of lows, you get a pretty nice actionable momentum short here, but no trigger, no trade as of yet. IBB, so here's one of the big leaders for the markets, the biotech index, and you can see a pretty strong down 2% day. The uptrend is still intact. It didn't really do a ton of damage, broke some upper level support, but you can definitely see that some of your leadership here was under some sell pressure with today's general indices sell-off that we saw. So keep that on watch. Perhaps if you can get a snap below 312, if you break down from this potential, if you want to call this a channel here, you might get a short trade below 310 or something around that to be pretty actionable. Commodities continue to get destroyed here too. Strong downtrend. If you look at like DBC, look at corn for example. This was a nice potential short trade here below this 25.50. Today's candle was pretty ugly in corn, and it looks like it may want to just break down and head back down to the lows. You had a lot of supply in here right around 25.50. It lost it today, and it lost it with these pivot lows back we made earlier in January. So that looks like it wants to head lower. Could catch a short on that one. Now let's look at some stocks. Apple. So Apple reported just absolute blowout numbers. I don't think that was hard to predict that Apple was going to crush it with their numbers. I just think, and I very don't like to have too much of an opinion on the fundamental side, but it just seems like the expectation is very clear. Apple crushes it, but there's not a hell of a lot of surprise, really. I mean, we know they're going to sell a ton of phones, and we know they're going to sell a ton of computers. They're going to make a ton of money, but it's tough that there's not a lot of surprise factor, I think, in a lot of these earnings. So, you kind of get these type of reaction. Still up, almost 8% for the day at one point is absolutely something that the bulls should be happy about, but ultimately it got faded, and that's to be expected, especially with a day like today. We'll have to see. Maybe they need to close this gap. I like Apple here, technically, above 113.50. I can't quite buy it, just given the way it closed on the dead lows, but I do like I like the breakout here. So I think if it does fill the gap, you'd want to see it, quickly get back above 113.50. You don't want to see it get lost in this range again. But Apple looks decent, potentially decent, not actionable for me, but it's a nice reward for the bulls there. Google got crushed today. Came up, tested 542 resistance last week, and then it just basically sold off for most of this week, and it's back into this middle range. Real sloppy, wide action here. Well, it just needs more time. It's just a very noisy area for Google, and we'll have to see what comes of it and what comes out of their earnings. Netflix finally takes a breather today, basically at yesterday's lows. Still not too much to say about it. Needs more time. Ran right into 455 resistance, which I've had drawn on here for a while, and it just needs more time. We'll see what happens with it. Needs time to digest, flag out, go sideways, so on and so forth. Amazon, down day, didn't take out yesterday's lows. Earnings will be coming up. Still stuck, similar to Google, just hanging out in the bottom end of this range. 292 is very critical, 320 on the upside. Not too much of interest to me there. Facebook's reporting after the bell. Probably reporting right now and running all over the place. I don't know what it's doing, but it's in the middle of this large range. So, 73.75, 78.50. I think those are your two near-term targets. Perhaps, some of the action after hours is going to break one of those levels. I think, you keep that on watch. Twitter. Ugly day today, looking like it wants to snap this sort of rising wedge that it's been working up against. Down almost 5% today is pretty ugly action. Earnings, I think, are next week. So, I think anything below today's lows is definitely an actionable short for lower prices if it breaks down from here. The only thing you have to think about is earnings coming up. So, perhaps it might just stay sort of mulling sideways and chop around before any big move happens before the catalyst. Alibaba, this one broke down today. I think there was news on it. I'm not sure, but anyway, 105, I was actually looking to see if we could potentially get back above 105 for a potential long trade, but especially after yesterday's close with this type of nice bullish tail on here, I was looking for potential follow through to the upside, maybe get a long trade out of it. That didn't happen, so I'm just back to the drawing board. Who knows? It's under this psychologically important $100 level. reports soon. Maybe it even reports today. I'm not sure. Keep that on watch. GoPro. This one actually eked out a green day today. It was up more, but it did get faded. Still holding pretty strong there. So it looks like it is getting some interest around this $50 level. It can't seem to stay below $50 for too long, but definitely keep that on watch. Maybe just a rising bear flag here before it does break down again. Otherwise, let these moving averages catch up, see if it can continue to be constructive action and work itself sideways. So Yahoo, this one reported earnings last night. It did open up on the day, especially given where it closed, but this one just really got hammered all session long, below, back below $50, and it's, almost coming in to test the January lows here around $46, $45. So keep it on watch. Still just a larger flag type pattern after this nice impulse leg it had from $37 to $52. It's still just working itself off. Let's see what happens with it. So a couple of the sectors that were really down today, XLE Energy, this one got hammered, down 4% today, and financials are still dogs, down less than 2%, but you can see some of the big names. Look at Bank of America down 2.69%. This chart looks horrible. JP Morgan was down 2.5%, back to the lows. Citigroup down 2.5%, Goldman Sachs. So you can see down 2%. The banks definitely under some pressure here. Definitely maybe it has an impact with TLT with rates going lower. It doesn't really help their businesses, and probably a host of other things. So let's look at a quick set of short setups and then some long ideas. Splunk, this is actually one I did get involved in. I am short this right now for a trade. We'll see if this breaks down. $54 was holding as support. Pretty clear head and shoulders pattern. We'll see what happens of it. It's a breakdown trade I'm looking for. I like the close on the dead lows today, below all these recent lows. So I'm short it for a trade. We'll see what happens with it, and we'll go from there. BRKB, Berkshire Hathaway, nice looking short setup here. Below 146.50. It triggered today, closed on the dead lows. This looks good for lower prices. You could put a stop all the way up back 148, 147. Short this, looks pretty good for lower prices. Another name, ACAD, Acadia Pharmaceuticals. Not quite getting a full breakdown yet. It's a biotech name, so if these biotechs do continue to soften up, you might be able to get some short setup in this name under this cluster of support. You can see it did basically close right at it, 31.50, 31.25 right here. Might be able to get more follow through to the downside there. FMC, this one, chemicals play, tried to peek its head up above $58 resistance, but it seems to be getting faded. You could probably look for this to continue here, maybe snap this rising wedge for some continued downside action. This has been in a protracted downtrend, so keep that on watch. And then Big Blue IBM, this one back to the lows, not as actionable because it's so sloppy, but 151, 150 below there could probably get a nice fallout on IBM. A couple of long ideas. JD, this one I'm actually involved in. We got involved in it yesterday. Held up really nice relative strength today, up 2.5%, and nice follow through day. Not a lot of supply up here, so keep it on watch for higher prices. Sale, this one here. Retail may not play. This could get going. It needs to clear 1555 or so, get above these recent highs. I think that one could start to move again. It's been basing out pretty nicely, so keep that on watch. Fiesta Restaurant Group here, $60, I think is a pretty interesting level. It tried to hold in green for most of today, but it finally gave it up at the end of the day, closed marginally red. So see if it can reclaim $60. That one could move. And last but not least, Amdocs, DOX. I tried to nibble this on the long side today, but I just stopped myself out intraday. It was green on the day. It reported earnings yesterday, I believe, up about 1.5%, but just don't like the close on the dead lows, which isn't surprising given the market. Take a look at the weekly chart, though. Nice, high, tight weekly base out for about 6 months, so keep this on watch. Above today's highs or above $49 could probably get going. So that's all I have today. Good luck trading out there. It's a super tricky environment. I continue to, myself personally, I am a momentum breakout trader, so this is a tough environment for my type of style. I've been taking a lot of small losses. We have been finding some winners in this, like a JD today outperforming, and that's what I continue to do, is take shots on names that are outperforming or underperforming, like the Splunk trade breakdown today that I'll take. So keeping things light, staying tactical, I think that's the only way you can approach this market. Otherwise, good luck. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.